In this video, I really want to discuss specifically the concept of luck from the perspective of a software engineer. The reason I want to talk about luck is because I have gotten a number of emails as well as comments on my videos that most successful entrepreneurs are quote unquote lucky, and that it's survivorship bias, and that the advice that most people get, or that advice that I say, might not be too applicable to most individuals in their current circumstances because I was lucky. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Bigo, right? I wrote my first line of code in 2016. I started off as a junior developer just like many of you in Fortune 500, climbed to a manager in less than 3 years' time, quit, formed AB Analytics, which is my current consulting firm that I run to this day that does 7-figure annually. And I also run Code to CEO, which is a startup accelerator specifically for software engineers looking to transition out of a 9-to-5 into becoming business owners. And I've helped countless dozens of people actually get that result. First and foremost, what I want to start off is, this isn't going to be a sob story about how, oh, my life was so hard, whatever. No, I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to objectively talk about luck and what luck really is. You see, luck as a software engineer is a very nuanced thing. You'll see various kind of videos about it, definitions of it, but from my perspective, all of luck really is, it's a set of probabilities. Now, do I consider myself lucky? Yes, I do consider myself lucky because, knock on wood, I was born healthy. I have 2 arms, 2 legs. I'm very grateful for that, alongside of many other things. I grew up in a good family, grew up in a good country. From the perspective of I had a great childhood, etc., etc. So there's a lot of things that you might point your finger to me and say I'm lucky. But there's also a lot of other things that I didn't have, that normal people had, that you might say I was unlucky. But at the end of the day, it's all really probabilities. And when you break it down to probabilities, it becomes something that you can control. And this is going to be the main point of this video, is that you can control luck. It's not this arbitrary thing that people think it is. And the example I want to use is my trip here to Tokyo. So I'm currently in Tokyo, a very nice hotel. I'm about to go to the spa. I wanted to make this video because of an interaction that I had. So I was at the spa and I was conversing with a few individuals, and 2 of them happened to be business owners, were very successful, and we ended up chatting, got dinner, and now we essentially have a new business venture together. It's nothing crazy, but it's still an investment opportunity for me, and I'm going to make a decent amount of money from it. And I got back to the room and I thought to myself, I said, okay, if I hadn't made conversation with these individuals, if I hadn't stayed at this specific hotel, if I hadn't gone down to the spa, if I hadn't, invited them out to dinner, I wouldn't had this opportunity. Somebody might point and say to me, you got lucky that you went to that specific hotel, you met that specific person at that specific time, and they were in a good mood, that a conversation took place, and you got an opportunity. What I will say to that, though, is this was just one of the many doors that I knocked on. Most of them didn't open, but this one did. You see, when it comes to luck, you create your own luck in everything that you do. The fact that, I came and stayed at an expensive hotel already kind of increased my probability of me meeting a successful person. The probability of me essentially, going to the spa and meeting somebody was also relatively high because most older gentlemen would be using the spa and the pool. So that's another increase in probability. Me making conversation increases the probability of me getting a yes from them, or me gaining favorability from them, which is obvious. If I talk to them and make a good impression, that's what's going to happen. And me inviting them out to dinner increases the probability that our relationship can strengthen and go further. So at every single stage, I had an option. I had a choice. Do I take that choice? Do I not take that choice? Do I knock on the door, or do I just leave? And I chose to knock on that door every single time. Sometimes the door doesn't open. My efforts go to waste. Other times, the door does open. This was just one example of my most recent interactions. But this has been the case for the entirety of my life as a software engineer. When it came to the first internship that I got, when it came to literally the first job that I got, when it came to even me getting promoted that much faster, when it came to me starting my business, all of it you can point and say you got lucky. However, it was sheer numbers, and I created enough probability in my life where it turned sort of into luck. I knocked on enough doors where I only really needed one of them to be open and give me a yes. So for those of you who are watching this, the main takeaway is this. You can control your own luck. You can't change, obviously, the things, the uncontrollable risk factors like who you were born to, where you were born, how you were born, that aspect of things. But going into the future, you can create your own luck with regards to other things. Where you go, where you live, what hotel you stay at, all these small little things. You might say, okay, but that's a money thing, that's a money issue. That's where a little bit of risk comes into play. I could have stayed at a cheaper hotel, saved more money, potentially put it to other uses, right? Opportunity cost. I decided to stay at a little bit more of an expensive hotel because I knew, fundamentally speaking, the probability of meeting other high-tier individuals will be higher here. Now, I could have gone to an even more exquisite of a location. I could have gone to, let's say, Aman, Tokyo, which is one of the most expensive hotels here and one of the most prestigious ones. I could have stayed there. It's about $5,000 a night, right? And maybe, just maybe, if I did the same exact thing there, I went to the spa there or I went down to the lounge, I made conversation, I could have met another high net worth individual who could have opened up a new opportunity for me or opened a new door for me. Nevertheless, this type of probability exists everywhere in the world, okay? You create your own luck. Mine came through a hotel. Yours doesn't have to come through a hotel. Yours can come through something as simple as even a car show. And you might say, I'm a software engineer, I don't like cars. Once again, that does not matter. Even you going to, let's say, a car show, meeting an individual who is, high value or has a high net worth, and then making conversation, you getting some type of opportunity out of it, very much possible. Is it probable? Maybe not. Chances of that are low, but it is possible. Given enough time, given enough tries, you will get there. Same exact thing in dating. You talk to enough individuals, right? You give it enough tries, there will be somebody who sticks. Same thing in business. That's how lead acquisition works. You do enough outreach, you talk to enough clients, there will be somebody who ends up closing, okay? So if you apply this concept to the rest of your life as a software engineer, it will do you wonders because you need to fundamentally understand luck does not exist. It is all in your hands. It's all about probability. And are you knocking on enough doors to increase that probability to a number where you can sort of hack your success? Because a lot of individuals are. The main differentiator between those who got lucky and those who didn't is because they gave enough tries. They were persistent in knocking on as many doors as possible. Now, some people knock on a lot of doors and not one of them opens. That also does happen. It's not guaranteed. But at the same exact time, the opposite can also be very true. So your best bet is still to play the game of knocking on doors. Because even if the doors don't open, you only need one to open later that will completely change your life. Now, these doors, of course, are hypothetical from the perspective of this can be meeting somebody, this can be creating an application, this can be starting a business, this can be whatever the case. Your door is whatever you choose for it to be. In my sense here, I just explained it through the concept of meeting somebody at a different country in Tokyo, right? But that's what I mean. My entire life as a software engineer has been this probability plays. These plays of putting myself in certain situations where I know I can get value out of it, and me just trying enough, putting enough sort of consistency behind these things where it does pay off eventually. So if you're a software engineer watching this, your main takeaway should be as follows. If you want to get a better job, give it enough tries. Knock on enough doors. Are you really knocking on enough doors? And when you knock on the doors, knock hard. Don't do a soft knock like sending a resume to something. Do a hard knock by maybe potentially reaching out to the hiring manager or the person in charge of the company, introducing yourself, and actually giving it enough tries, giving enough volume. If you want to start a business, don't give a light knock, do a hard knock, and knock on enough doors. Did you talk with enough customers? Did you really try to market it properly? How persistent were you in those things? These are all probabilities. Nothing in this world is set for 100%. However, you give it enough tries, you push that probability number to greater than 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, you can get close to 100, you'll never get there, but 99% or 99.9999% is very damn close to 100, and in many aspects of life, it will basically seem like it is 100%. There will always be that one case where it won't be. However, do keep in mind that on a fundamental level, you create your own luck as a software engineer. So go out there and actually start creating it. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good one.